Let's do some examples on simple interest. So I'll get all the information up on the screen here. So the first way that interest can be calculated is by using the initially invested amount, which is also called the principal. You may know the word principal can be spelled in multiple ways, P-L-E at the end or P-A-L. This version is also the principal at your school, but the principal here means, I guess, the original amount. And it's sometimes called a flat rate if we are going to invest something with simple interest. And the interest is only calculated based on that principal amount only. So it's not calculated monthly, it's calculated, once at the end. Compound interest it's more complex, and we'll get into that in future videos. So here are the formula, or formulae, the plural of formula. We don't say formulas. So it's I is equal to PRT, and they're all multiplied together. And what all of those values stand for is I is the amount of interest that's going to be calculated, P is that principal amount, R is the rate of interest in a decimal form, and T is the total time in years. The variations of that formula are, as you can see here, where it's been rearranged to solve for different things, making P the subject, R or T the subject. It's worth writing these down, all the variations, and I'm going to go through an example of each of them with you now. So one example here that's fully worked out for us, first of all, I'll just put it all on the screen. So if you're asked a question, what's the total repayment required if $25,000 is lent at a flat rate or a simple rate of 8% PA, and that stands for per annum, which is Latin for per year, for 2.5 years. So what you would do is you would take the formula where I is equal to, because you're trying to work out what's the amount of interest, is equal to PRT. P is the principal, which is that initial amount, the 25,000. R is the rate. Notice how it's in a decimal form. It's not the whole number 8, it's 0.08, and the way that you turn that into a decimal is you divide numbers by 100. And then the 2.5, that's the 2.5 years. Together that creates $5,000 of interest. But the question said, what's the total repayment required? Which means we initially pay $25,000 for this loan, and we have to pay $5,000 of interest. So together, the standard thing to do is the principal plus the interest to get $30,000. Let's do an example. So make sure you've got your calculators handy, and you're writing this down with me as we go. So George invests $2,700 at 5% per year, simple interest. Find the total value of the investment after 8 years. My suggestion to get into the habit for simple and compound interest is to write out what you know, and also therefore the one that you're trying to solve for. So what have we got there? Go through each number one at a time. 2,700. He invests that. So that's the initial amount, the principal amount. Oops, 2,700. The 5%, that's the rate. You might like to write 5% and then convert it to a decimal. We've got a little hint down here by this person to convert the percentages to decimals. Shift the decimal point 2 places to the left. Hopefully you remember that 5%, you can't see the decimal, but there's a decimal to the right of every whole number, so it's 5.0 if you like. And then we're shifting that 2 places to the left, 1, 2, and then you fill in the gaps. Quick refresher there. 8, that's the years, T for time, and interest is the thing that we're solving for. So you would use the formula now where I is the subject, I is equal to, and it's PRT, and we substitute the values in. P is 2,700 multiplied by R, which is 0.05 in that decimal form, multiplied by 8, and the answer we get is 1,080. Now that's the amount of interest, but go back and read the question. Find the total value of this investment after 8 years. So George put in 2,700, so we would say total investment. You add the principal plus the interest, and that's going to give us 2,700, add on 1,080, and we get 3,780 as our total investment. Let's do another one. When I do these questions, I write IPRT. I know on the previous one I put I last, but it doesn't really matter which order they're in. And fill in what you know. In 5 years, 5, that's the time, 5 years. $3,900 interest was earned. Oh, so that's the amount of interest. So we're going to put that in the I position. On an investment at 6.5%. So 6.5%, but that is equal to the decimal 0.065. Find the original amount invested. Well, that's the one that's missing information. That's P. So that's the one we're going to solve for. So we're going to do P is equal to, the rearrangement of the formula had I in the numerator over the other two letters. So it's R multiplied by T. So let's substitute in those values now. I for interest is the 3,900 number divided by the rate 0.065, which is multiplied by time 5. And therefore the principal amount that was earned on this investment is $12,000. Next question. It says flat rate, so then we know it's simple interest. So let's write down the letters on the side, IPRT. So you would like to earn $6,000 in interest. Aha, that's the interest amount. Let's put that in for I. On a 4-year investment, 4, that's the time, of $18,000. Oh, the investment is $18,000, so that's the principal amount. What flat rate of interest would you need to find? So R is what we're trying to solve for. I'm just going to do it once where I show you the rearrangement as opposed to going straight there. If I is equal to PRT, let's substitute in the numbers that we do know. I'm going to put R on the left-hand side because that's what we're solving for. It's 18,000 multiplied by R multiplied by time, which is 4. That's equal to I. And so the rearrangement of this is we leave R by itself on the left of the equals and we rearrange the other two numbers. Because they're being multiplied on the left of the equals, it's a divide on the right, and the rate comes out to be 0.0833. But we're not quite finished there when you do rate. You have to turn that back into a percentage. And this time we move the decimal 2 places to the right. So the rate is equal to 8.33%. And the way I did that was multiply by 100. So you're welcome to start straight at the formula for each letter that you're solving for, or that's the algebra for how you would rearrange. Moving on. How long would it take to earn this much interest? I'm going to write my letters down, IPRT, to earn that much interest. So that's the I, 4760, from an investment of 16,000 at 8.5% as our rate for simple interest. So I'm writing down what I know, which one isn't there, T for time, and that matches what the question says. How long would it take? That's solving for T. Write out your formula. I is on the top and the other two letters are in the denominator. Substitute in what you know. I for interest, 4760. Principal is 16,000 and the rate as a decimal, 0.085. Working that out, we get time to be 3.5, but you need to say what units that is. How long would it take? It would take 3.5 years, or you're welcome to leave that as 3.5. Okay, quick crash course in doing all of those. There's some questions to do from a textbook. Thank you.